Oh, it's going to be a good day. As good of a matchup as we have this Sunday. It's the Rams back in Philadelphia trying to rectify a loss in last year's postseason. Do they get it done against the Eagles? And don't look now, but I think Jordan Love and the Green Bay Packers are making the case they are the premier team in the NFL. A tough test for QB1 in that Green Bay uniform. They get the #1 total defense in the Cleveland Browns. It's Game Day preview, and it kicks off right now.
I'm almost glad I got knocked down. Show me how to get back up from this.
4th down and 10. Can Mayfield pull something out of the hat? He's going to run.
Get ready for the comeback.
Touchdown, Tampa Bay. Bucs win.
Get ready for the comeback. Get ready for me.
Touchdown, Giants. Caught. Touchdown. Go. Touchdown. Everybody know what's up. It's Devontae. It's a touchdown. He's hit another home run against the Rams.
Gotta get hyped up. Week number 3 of the NFL season. For some teams, a critical performance is much needed. Can't fall too much into a deficit. Players arriving to their respective stadiums to get ready to roll. With that, we welcome you inside our studios. Michael F. Florio, Mike F. Yam, we're ready to go. Week 3, we got a host of characters. We'll take you around the country. Our reporters are locked and loaded for some of the biggest games of today. But let's level reset here, Mike, and look a closer look at some of the matchups today that we have circled, and we'll have complete coverage on all of these games. You and I will be breaking it all down. We got an Atlanta Falcons team right at the top there against the Panthers, and I think ATL right now, fans down there, have to be loving what they've seen from their team's defense. Sarah Walsh is in New England. We'll hear from her and get her take on the Steelers defense that have had some struggles as well. And then the Raiders and Commanders, Steve Wyche in our nation's capital, and of course, Marcus Mariota will get the nod there. Meanwhile, the Dallas Cowboys and the Chicago Bears, two teams that are like, hey, we need this one. We're going to get this one. We'll find out if that is the case. And we got some Sunday night football with the Chiefs and the Giants. All of a sudden, that thing becomes sneaky good with Kansas City looking for its first win of the season.
Take pride in winning however we need to win, and then we go back to work again. We find a way again. We repeat again and again and again.
Hurts has time. Takes off. Jalen Hurts.
Is this a great challenge? You're damn right it is. What I respect about them is they play the game on their terms.
The whole world knows where we're going. It doesn't matter.
I have so much respect for Coach McVay. I think you see it with the detail that his team plays with.
Byron sneaks in on his feet. Touchdown.
You know, he can beat you with his arm, legs, or his mind.
He started to run.
And he's a winner.
Touchdown. Jalen Hurts.
Puka is a big, strong, physical guy.
Stays on his feet. Puka's gone.
They got good running backs. They got good tight ends.
It's Devontae. It's a touchdown.
You know, they've gotten after us. They've gotten the results that they wanted.
Hartley through the snow.
Let's go swing and see what happens.
So look at Kyron Williams in that Rams uniform. You know, he and Saquon Barkley, pretty good matchups of running backs in this game, each in the top 3 in the NFL in rushing first downs since last season. We'll see if he's able to move the sticks for this team's offense today against an Eagles defense where there's been some questions so far today. For a little bit more on the matchup, Mike Garafolo joins us right now from Philadelphia. Mike, I got to imagine this is just a good game because it's two really good football teams. But for the Rams, they got to be haunted a little bit from what happened in that divisional round. How excited are they for redemption?
Haunted, motivated. I mean, it sort of cuts both ways. We just spoke to Kyron Williams a short while ago in an interview that's going to air on NFL Network shortly, and he said just coming in here, just seeing it again, all the emotions of how close they were. They were by far the team that gave the Eagles the best punch in the postseason. They were 13 yards away from taking the lead in that game. They left Jalen Carter unblocked for 2 key plays, 3rd down and 4th down, a sack and a pressure, and that's why they did not advance and the Eagles Super Bowl run continued. So Kobe Turner told us on the Insiders back in July when we had him on, he said, we've circled that game. It's week 3, right? He knew. And that may have been the first honest answer ever, and a guy saying that we had a game circled that wasn't week 1 on the schedule. But we appreciated that. And he said back in the spring, when they were working on stuff, they were game planning against the Eagles. Here's what they do offensively from a blocking standpoint. So this game has been on their mind for quite some time. Now, that could be a good thing or it could be a bad thing. And when I asked Sean McVay about it, he says, no, you don't run from it. We respect the Eagles, but we are not going to come in and play scared. We're going to play aggressive. We're going to let it rip. And so that's the mentality that the head coach is embracing, and he hopes his players embrace it. Play hot.
Yeah.
Not overheating, but play hot. By the way, beautiful day, speaking of heat. Much better than the last time these two teams played when we were covered in snow for the second half.
Yeah, no, I remember it being very, very cold in that second half of action. And by the way, I think you and I are probably on the same page when I hear, oh, it's just another game, when you know it's not. That inner monologue is saying something very different, probably for the player and for us doing those interviews. On the flip side, tush push, everyone's talking about it. It's not going away. We have it here.
Yeah.
A little bit of buzz, though, about the NFL and really the officials calling this thing maybe a little bit closer.
Well, cracking down on it because the Eagles should have been flagged for false starts, and that's the latest reason for people wanting to. I mean, you had health and safety, which really isn't a thing because there haven't been injuries on the play. You've had that it doesn't look like a football play, which, by the way, was raised by Rams coach Sean McVay, a member of the competition committee. He said, doesn't look like a football play to me. Now it's that it's too hard to officiate. Well, it's been so hard to officiate that it's actually worked against the Eagles in the past. Jason Kelsey, he would put his left hand down and snap with his right hand, and the Eagles multiple times got flagged for offensive offsides because they thought that that was the guard's hand. They have to now wear different colors when it comes to their gloves and make sure the refs are on the same page. So that cuts both ways. So all these excuses the Eagles are kind of snickering at, and they'll continue to snicker at because it's still illegal play. And they plan on running it as much as possible, certainly against McVay and the Rams, but I guarantee you, McVay and the Rams in the pregame meeting with the officials are going to say, hey, watch those false starts. The Eagles are aware of it, by the way. They've told their guys, make sure you're not moving too soon on that play. We'll see how it plays out today. Yeah, we'll find out how many times we see the tush push today. Mike, enjoy the weather, enjoy the game, and looking forward to talking to you through the week and, of course, next Sunday back here with us on Game Day Preview. Now, I do look, Mike, at what we're seeing. There's a lot of mics on this show.
Oh, yeah.
I was like, wait a second. Which mic am I talking to? Michael F. Florio, who's sitting right next to me. I'm looking at these downfield passes. I know we just had a conversation about the tush push. The reality is the Eagles averaging about 119 passing yards over the last 2 games. And you could see, like, what I don't know what to make of why we're seeing some of these numbers considering the amount of weapons and explosive players that are on this roster for the Eagles.
Yeah, the funny thing about that graphic we just showed is Jalen Hurts is the only quarterback on that list to play 2 full games. Yeah. Like, everyone else missed time, and Tyrod Taylor played less than a full quarter. It's frustrating because the Eagles don't need to play this way. Like, I am a supporter of the tush push when it's used ethically, right? Like, when you're on the goal line, all right, let's bring in our big guys, let's get them in. But right now it feels like they are just playing to set up 3rd and 4th and short.
Totally.
A.J. Brown has 9 targets this year. 8 of them are fewer than 10 air yards. They're not even giving him a chance to win downfield. Devonta Smith, they're using a bit more there. So I do think we get, whether it becomes flags for lining off sides or false starts or whatever, I think the league is going to try to adjust a little bit here, and then the Eagles are going to have to adjust. I do think we see more A.J. Brown and Devonta Smith today.
Which, by the way, would be a good thing for fantasy owners who have probably been screaming. You actually traded.
I love A.J. Brown. I have him on a ton of teams, and it hasn't been a fun 2 weeks.
No, it has not. But, you know, the potential for this team to get explosive because of guys like Smith and A.J. Brown is certainly there. The tush push, at least this season, not going anywhere, whether you like it or not. And there were times even watching them last week, I'm like, this is like not even fun.
Yeah.
Like, let's just line it up. Let's just, run a little power. The tush push is just not totally for me. There's a look at Mike Vrabel. Patriots, Steelers. Sarah Walsh is there. We'll get a report from her coming up next. all the NFL international games, they return to NFL Network September 28th. They got 6 games, 4 cities, Dublin, London, Berlin, and Madrid. Only on NFL Network, also streaming with NFL Plus. Subscription required for NFL Plus. You can visit NFL.com for terms. Let's look at Aaron Rodgers. Boy, the talk of the town in week number 1 came down to earth in week number 2. It's a road matchup against the New England Patriots, and for as much conversation as there's been around Aaron Rodgers, I think the focus has really been on the Steelers defense. For more, we head to New England. Sarah Walsh is standing by. All right, Sarah, break this down for me because I'm seeing all these 30-point games on the defensive side that the Steelers are giving up. What's the level of concern around that unit?
There's some concern, and it's because of who this unit is made up of. You mentioned the 30-point games. Both of their games, they have allowed more than 30 points. And to put that in some context, that is only the 3rd time that has ever happened in the Mike Tomlin era. I spoke to their linebacker, Patrick Queen, and he said he understands if fans are panicking because of the history of this Steelers team. And he said, I got to take accountability. It starts with me. It's clearly not all on him, but he said this is a defense with so many playmakers. Perhaps part of the problem is you just assume the guy next to you is going to make the play. And he said, we can't do that, right? Because it's not like every player is going to make every tackle when they should make it. He said that they have to put an emphasis on all of the guys swarming to the ball at once. It has been a problem. Also a problem, there's some pretty significant names out once again for the Steelers defense. Joey Porter is going to miss his 2nd straight game. Alex Highsmith is out. Deshaun Elliott is out. But Stephon Diggs, the star receiver over on the Patriots, says he's not sleeping on this defense. It is loaded with talent. He says this is what they are known for, so buckle up. I think most Steelers fans believe, given who is on this roster, this Pittsburgh team will get it together. But they've got a tough test here in Foxborough today, Mike.
Well, I'm glad you bring up Diggs on the offensive side for the Patriots. Team drops like 30-plus points last week. I said all of a sudden there's offense in New England. How did they keep that going?
Well, first of all, Diggs, if you may recall, he's still coming off that ACL injury and working his way back. So I don't even think we've seen the full effect of Stephon Diggs yet as he continues to get better each and every week. But Drake May is coming off a huge performance in Miami where he had a couple of career highs in completion percentage and passer rating. And I talked to Mike Vrabel this morning. He talked about the evolution of May. I said, what's the next step? And he said, it's really just for him to be able to continue to stack wins. That has not happened here a lot recently. In fact, the last time this Patriots team won back-to-back games, you'd have to go back 3 seasons for them to do it. So that's really important for them to keep the momentum going. I asked Queen specifically about May, and he said he is a guy that will stand in the fire and make the throw. And also, he's got escape routes, and he will find guys. Vrabel said specifically they know how good that Pittsburgh front is, especially the edge rushers, and that he has to execute. He said if you throw the ball behind or you don't put it in the right places, there's Slay, there's Ramsey, and those Steelers are going to make you pay. Hey, one thing before I sign off here. Come over here. We have this guy. I just wanted to give a shout out to a young Anthony Biasi who is celebrating his 44th birthday here in New England. We said, what do you want for your birthday? And he said, I would like to work with you in New England. He's also wearing a linen suit in Foxborough as the leaves are starting to turn. That could be risky, but happy birthday to Biasi.
Yeah, happy birthday. Anthony is the best. I got to work with him, one of our best field producers here at NFL Network. So, Sarah, make sure you continue to embarrass him as well. And strong selection on the linen suit. I'm not going to hate on that. Sarah, great stuff. Happy birthday, Anthony. I know he can still hear us. He's always listening because that's what good producers are doing. Hey, let's take a closer look at the Steelers defense. Sarah touched on it. Fewest sacks through 2 games. They only have 1. Fewest quarterback hits and takeaways through 2 games. You got to go back to 2021. That 1 sack, they haven't had that few after 2 since 2016. No one better to talk about some of these issues than Cynthia Freeland, who joins us here.
Hi.
All right. Great to have you.
Can we talk about his hair this year?
Oh, man.
Florio's hair this year is like really you've taken it up a notch.
Thank you. Thank you.
I'm going to have to get more hair now.
The internet hated it last year, so can't be worse than that.
We'll talk product.
I didn't
You didn't hate it. The internet did.
Oh, I don't care about the internet. I care about me.
Well, we'll talk product after the show. We'll find out what he's dealing with there. I'm just happy I still have it because it's turning colors, and I don't like the color that it's turning.
Silver fox.
David Carr always tells me it's the wisdom crown, and I'm going to stick with that. Although I wish I was legitimately a little wiser than I am. But we heard Sarah Walsh, and she gave us some of the issues that we're seeing on the Steelers' defensive side. I think there's also some problems you could point to after week 2 on the offensive side. What's the biggest level of concern when you watch this team?
Well, those two things don't go together, right? When your defense is giving up all of these points and you're unable to have a consistent run and pass situation, I'm going to say both. We saw the play action work in week 1. Don't know really where it went in week 2. Wasn't able to get going. But it doesn't help when you also combine that with the injury report where they're missing some key pieces on the defense too. So I'm actually looking at both and saying, if you can't consistently get a good push in the run, the O-line isn't helping your quarterback out, you can't get the play action to work. It's just these things got to work together. So when they don't work together, it also is complementary, just the wrong kind of complement.
Yeah, I think Cynthia hit the nail on the head. It doesn't work. Like, their defense really struggles against speed. They give up a lot of big plays. They've been torched on the ground. It's why I think Travion Henderson could have his breakout game this week. But then on the offense, they don't have big play capability. Like, they've completed one pass of more than 20 air yards this season. So if you're giving up points and yards in chunks, but you can't duplicate that on the offensive side, to me, that feels like a recipe for disaster.
Look, they look good in week 1 against the Jets, and you start saying, hey, like, maybe this is going to be something. I don't know who uses the phrase. I feel like a lot of people do. It's like week 1's that liar. You know, we don't really know what it's going to end up looking at. I still think it's actually better than what we saw in week number 2. I don't know if it's quite week 1, and I think the Jets are like,
the Jets are the Jets.
Yeah, there's some real struggles there. They need to figure out how to get into the win column. Could be worse, though. Steelers have a win. You know who doesn't? Kansas City Chiefs. How about this? Andy Reid has not started a season 0-3 since 1999.
One of my favorite follows on Twitter right there.
Oh, Tony.
Oh, Tony's the best.
Tony, he don't mess around. That was his first season as an NFL coach.
I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, look, Andy Reid, it's not great.
Yeah, it really is not, because the Chiefs have as many losses so far this season than they had in all of last year. Here's Mahomes on the rough start.
Definitely new territory as far as being 0-2, but knowing that we got the guys for it. You know, we have the mindset of going out there and being even better. And so, in my eyes, it looks like what an opportunity. What an opportunity to prove who we are as the Kansas City Chiefs is coming back from 0-2 and trying to build up to win a big football game on Sunday Night Football and try to get our season going in the right direction from there.
All right, time for game picks. They're presented by Crocs. All right, this is Sunday Night Football, as Patrick just made reference to, against the New York Giants, who flashed against the Dallas Cowboys. Not exactly the way the Giants fans were hoping to see that game play out. But how do they figure this out from a Kansas City perspective? Who are you picking in this game?
Kansas City. I liked what I saw from the Giants offense last week, but the Chiefs are not really allowing a lot of deep stuff to work so far. So you can point to some questions on the Chiefs offense, but the Chiefs defense shored things up quite a bit better. Wait, Chris Jones wasn't wrong when he was saying that to Jalen Hurts. He just didn't win. They were actually both right.
Yeah, and this is a must-win game for the Chiefs, no matter how they describe it, because next week they get the Ravens, and then they have the Lions, Commanders, and Bills shortly after that. So I do think the Chiefs get the job done today, and I think what they need to do is figure out somehow how to establish the run. Like, Patrick Mahomes has led this team in rushing yards and touchdowns each week. Now you're facing a Giants team that's allowing nearly 6 yards per carry. They allow the most explosive runs, 2 running backs. Maybe, hopefully it's Pacheco and they could get him going, but someone from that backfield needs to step up.
Look, and I think even from a Giants perspective, you sit there and you say, hey, there were signs of life to that team's offense. Andrew Thomas, who hasn't played in the first 2 games, their starting left tackle, looks like he's going to give it a go today. That could be really meaningful for a team that is looking at an 0-2 Chiefs squad going, like, why not us? They're coming to our place? Like, we can handle business. We'll find out. Primetime game. I did see this stat, and to me it was telling. Chiefs have spent 2 minutes and 44 seconds in the lead of a game. That is the second fewest in the NFL. Only the Panthers have it worse than that. I know you're thinking about your fantasy squad. I got Cynthia. I got Mike. No one better to give you a little bit of help as you set those lineups. We'll do that coming up next. back here on Game Day Preview. Oh, we got some studs here. Emeka Egbuka, Garrett Wilson, two dudes who have some of the best hands in the NFL. It's kind of weird to start thinking about Garrett Wilson as kind of like an OG vet, but that is really the case, imparting some wisdom on the rookie. All right, I started thinking about my fantasy lineups. I know you are too. No one better than these guys to give us the information. Give me some starts here.
Well, we just saw him, Emeka Egbuka, right? Like, look, I know he appeared on the injury report this week. Rap Sheet is saying he is going to be playing without limitations, and if he is playing, I think you should play him in fantasy this week. He has 3 touchdowns already and is averaging 18 fantasy points per game through 2 games. And we're seeing the Jets allow Sauce Gardner to shadow #1 wide receivers. He did so in week 1 against DK Metcalf. If he does so today against Mike Evans, that could mean a couple extra targets going Egbuka's way. And no team has allowed more yards to slot receivers so far this season than the Jets.
Yeah, I think that the math on that one just says, you're going to make sure that you want to get him in your lineup ASAP.
Yeah, and then talking about getting in your lineups, I really like George Pickens this week. Not only is he tied for the league lead with 5 end zone targets, he's going up against a team that has allowed the most touchdowns to wide receivers so far this year. And Cynthia watched this closely last week. Jamison Williams was able to torch the Bears on deep targets.
Oh, what?
So Pickens could do the same. Roma Dunze, he's the new #1 in Chicago. I think 20 targets, nearly double anyone else. All 3 of the Bears' end zone targets have gone his way. He is the first read on a third of passes by Caleb, and the Cowboys' most yards and 3rd most touchdowns to wide receivers. And then, #2, Tyler Warren. He missed the tight end rookie record for yards through 2 weeks by 1. Brock Bowers had 156 last year. Tyler Warren has 155 right now. He is shown to be super safe, but I think the big weeks are still coming. Like the McBride, the Kittle, the Bowers big blow-up weeks.
Totally.
I think Warren has that in him as well.
I know you've been a huge fan on Tyler Warren and the rookie who's been a massive, massive producer. One?
Alvin Kamara, right? Like, I will admit, I was very low on the Saints coming into this season, but Alvin Kamara has shown us that he still brings a very safe floor. We have yet to see the big ceiling, but I think that could be coming this week because the Seahawks have allowed the most targets, catches, and receiving yards to running backs through 2 weeks. And if the Saints are in catch-up mode, they have to throw a bunch. Hopefully they have a couple of passes drawn up for Alvin Kamara.
Yeah. You buying Kamara?
I'm buying a lot of shares of Kamara. I was lucky to get him in a few leagues. But when I'm looking at the one that I want to go back to is I love the Roma Dunze pick because I think the game script especially will favor Chicago. So I think that means if you're looking, if some people ask me, should I start Caleb Williams? Because they saw maybe not the most favorable start last week. But the answer is yes. You're going to absolutely want to make sure and get Caleb in, and you're going to make sure and get Rome.
Yeah, get that stack right in there.
Yeah.
At what point do you start getting concerned about some of these Bears players?
Well, for fantasy or for real life?
We're doing fantasy, so there's part of me that wants to lean that way, but I think it's kind of twofold there.
Yeah, for fantasy purposes, unfortunately, if you think someone's going to be playing from behind, that actually usually means more fantasy points. But if you're talking about real life opportunities, apart from that first drive where they and the Bills are the only team that have scored in every single first drive, it's dicey. It's dicey. But for fantasy points, fully playable.
Yeah.
All right, lock them in. Michael and Cynthia gave you the names that have to be in your lineup if you lose this week.
Not our fault.
All right, we got the #1 total defense in the Cleveland Browns. They got to figure out what's happening on the offensive side against the Packers.
throws to the left side of the end zone. He caught the ball.
Touchdown! Touchdown Bears!
Welcome to a fresh hour of Game Day Preview, along with Cynthia Freeland and Michael F. Florio. Mike Yam with you. Look, there's some really good football games that we get to dissect. Continue and take you around the country and get the latest on who's playing, who's going to be sitting. You already gave us some fantasy advice on what we can expect for this upcoming day with our lineups, but I know we're already thinking like, hey, give me those names again. Who's going to be the guy that's not going to be out on the football field, and what does it mean for my fantasy team and my real life fandom? Tucker Kraft comes, it's one of those significant names. Stacey Dales is going to be joining us in a little bit here. He is active. That's really, really good news. And I think if you are a Tampa Bay Bucks fan, like Ibuka, who we told you is a must start, there was some concern because of that hip and groin. Good news there is he will be active. Meanwhile, one guy that's not going to be playing is Jaden Daniels, which means, Marcus Mariota, the flashback, gets to go against his former squad, the Raiders, the Vegas Raiders, as they try to figure it out in our nation's capital. Vegas, a team that took that tough loss on Monday night against the Chargers. I got to watch the entire game with my very good friend, Steve White, who joins us here on Game Day Preview. Steve, my man, it is always good to have you on with us. I feel like there's a ton of great stories that I'm going to hear from you tomorrow when we're going back and forth and thinking about some of these games. But take me through this, man. What can I expect from a Washington offense without Jaden Daniels and knowing that Marcus Mariota is in?
First off, Marcus isn't just going against his old team. He's going against his old college head coach, Chip Kelly, who's the offensive coordinator for the Raiders. But in speaking to some folks here this morning, they really think Marcus is going to get this offense going. Remember, they're not going to have to change what they do schematically because he is a run-pass threat. But the one thing that they've seen in practice and the few times they saw when he played several snaps in 2 games last season is he's much more aggressive throwing the ball than when he started in Atlanta. He's been decisive, and he is pushing it down the field. Now, this is not going to change, again, what they do offensively, but one thing to take note, with Austin Eckler out of the backfield with that torn Achilles tendon, Chris Rodriguez is going to be in the backfield. I've been told he's someone who could play a factor today, but pass protection is an issue with this younger running back group, so that's something where you'll probably see Mariota on the move against this Raiders defense that's a lot better than what people are thinking right now.
Yeah, what are you hearing about the Raiders defense and how they're going to try to stop this multiple offense? Because we've seen the Raiders defense, they played pretty well, and then we saw a little question mark last week, but it was a bad game script.
Well, the question mark was just a couple big plays. I mean, otherwise, they held the Chargers to 20 points. Yeah, they're bend but don't break. They're only allowing 16.5 points a game. But the big thing to watch for today is Max Crosby. He's already got 7 pressures, a sack, 2 tackles for loss. And Washington is changing its offensive line. They are starting 2 new guards at both spots. So Washington's offense is having change at every level of the offense. And then defensively, again, for the Raiders, talking to Patrick Graham, their defensive coordinator, getting pressure up front and making sure some of the busts that they had in the secondary against the Chargers simply don't happen again.
Steve, always appreciate your insights. Looking forward to working with you tomorrow night after the Monday night game. Michael F. Florio, you and I get the preview here, so
I'm excited. Cynthia's lines?
Yeah, we're all over this. Steve, safe travels back, man. All right, Steve White with us. All right, we will talk about that Green Bay team here coming up in just a moment with Stacey Dales. But you brought up, obviously, this Raiders defense, and they match up against a Marcus Mariota. And I don't want to say it's an unknown because Mark has been in this league for a while, but how different do you think this offense looks for the Commanders today?
I think they'll try to do a lot of the same things. I think it's going to be very run heavy because, like Steve was saying, Marcus Mariota can do a lot of damage with his legs. I think they're going to look to establish the run with Bill, as we like to call him in the fantasy world. But there's going to be limitations because there's only one Jaden Daniels, and Marcus Mariota can't do all of the things that Jaden Daniels does. So, like, if you're looking for a fantasy angle, I think Mariota's a sleeper, and I like the running game here, but not so much the receivers.
You know, I actually like the receivers, and I actually think it's Terry McLaurin's because when you look at Debo, and he's had at least seven receptions now in both the previous 2 games. That's maybe going to be a little bit different. Perhaps some of the volume will shift now. So, but I do think that targeting the Raiders in their deep, like the corners, not the safeties, not the middle of the defense, but the corners is the prescription. Stay the heck away from Max Crosby.
Yeah.
So like the other side from him, and he's great in the run game too. Stay all the way away from him, but then ultimately try to get those corners in one-on-one situations where you know you have the mismatch with Terry McLaurin. Do I think it's the safest fantasy play? Heck no. But I think it's probably something that will, if you're doing like a boom or bust or DFS, absolutely. I love a Terry McLaurin there.
Need any signs of life from Terry that we could get right now?
Yeah. By the way, Marcus played well last year in relief. I mean, there was
Marcus is great.
Yeah, there were some really good numbers. I mean, we're talking about a lot of backup quarterbacks who are starting today. Marcus on the short list of one of the dudes that you actually want on the football field. I mean, those 3 games last year, 33 of 44, 364 yards, 4 passing touchdowns. Sign me up for some of that. Speaking of quarterbacks, Jordan Love. This team, as dangerous as they get in the NFL. I know all the fanfare was really centered around Micah Parsons and that addition, but this offense has looked really strong as well, and they're going to be tested against a Browns defense, #1 total defense in the NFL. Stacey Jales joins us right now for a little bit more. Stacey, let's start with just some injury updates here. Tucker Kraft, we made reference to it a little bit earlier, active. I think there was a lot of us concerned that he'd be out there. How much of a factor can he be?
Well, I watched Tucker Kraft come out here quite a while ago, and we saw those 7 catches for, I think it was 124 last week, a career high for him. And then that knee injury popped up. Well, he did a lot of mobility, stretching exercises. He's obviously going to play. He's active in this game. And I think what you have to understand about these Packers, Yam, they run so deep. So even if he's not at 100% capacity, after that knee injury popped up on Thursday, you're going to see an array of Packers involved in this thing, including his fellow tight end Luke Musgrave, and certainly the receivers, Romeo Doubs, Matthew Golden, Dontavian Wicks, Savion Williams, the rookie, and Malik Heath. They have all had integral roles in this offense already through 2 games this season. And of course, the guy in the backfield, Josh Jacobs. These Packers feel as deep as they have in a very long time. They're still a really young team, but Jordan Love, as you know, Yam, has been attacking downfield more often than not with the certifiable running game of Josh Jacobs. I would anticipate that Tucker Kraft obviously gets some opportunities in this game, but again, they run so deep. Zach Tom, by the way, is active on the offensive line. He came in questionable with an oblique injury. That is great news against Myles Garrett in this defense.
Oh, it definitely is. Meanwhile, on the flip side, I think about this Browns offense. This was the most talked about quarterback room in the NFL. I know it wasn't a great performance a week ago. What's the leash right now on Joe Flacco?
Well, I think you don't really hear too much from Kevin Stefanski as far as how far that leash runs, but they're rolling with him as the starter until proven otherwise. We saw Dylan Gabriel come in last week against the Baltimore Ravens, who obviously won that game. And as you're the Cleveland Browns entering your Week 3 contest at 0-2, ultimately, for Joe Flacco, it's about giving him time in the pocket. I spoke with left guard Joel Bitonio this week, and he said, listen, when it comes to Joe Flacco, we've got to give him ample time and protect him. He's been sacked 4 times, twice in both games this season. And they really feel like if he can get enough time back there, he can figure out what these Packers are doing defensively. Now, they showcase a lot of disguise defensively. You know the Micah Parsons factor. It all plays together, Russian coverage. So we'll see in this game. But Kevin Stefanski rolling with the veteran 40-year-old quarterback in Joe Flacco and Quinshon Judkins. You know, we got to keep our eye on him. He really hasn't showed anything this season. He returned to action last week. Joel Bitonio telling me he's looked really good in practice, and they got to get him some touches in this game.
Yeah, Stacey, hopefully he can be a spark for an offense that really needs it in the worst way today. Always appreciate your insight. I think Stacey brings up a really good point when it comes to the sack totals and the pressure. I mean, Joe Flacco, Bryce Young, Russell Wilson, most pressured quarterbacks right now in the NFL. How long can they afford to stick with him? It doesn't matter. I mean, it doesn't matter even who's going to be out there.
I mean, the younger guys should be able to move around a little bit better, you would think, right? Like, I look at the Browns schedule. They get the Packers today, then the Lions, the Vikings, And then the Steelers, then they get the Dolphins. Maybe that is the game where they decide to go younger, but I think within the next month, we see the Browns turn it over to one of the younger two quarterbacks.
They need to figure out what they have. At this point, when you have 3 quarterbacks, you have 1 quarterback? Who knows, right?
Yeah.
So ultimately, they need to figure out exactly who that starter going forward is so they don't find themselves in a position where they're yet again trying to figure out and solve for quarterback in the offseason. So, I mean, I think that whatever the coach needs to do to be comfortable with that, that's what they need. Whatever Kevin Stefanski needs to do to feel comfortable with that should be great. But, like, keep your O-line a little bit healthier and then because they got some right tackle things going on. So when you're looking at that, you potentially wait till everyone's a little healthier and get a good game plan going.
You know, Cynthia, we love hanging with you.
Next week, the whole
show next week.
Don't
hour and a
miss
half,
it.
90 minutes locked
90
in. You're
minutes,
not getting up.
locked
You
in.
don't have to go to another studio. We got our international games next week, so you get to hang with us. And I know you got
Love
some
it.
other duties that you need to get to, but always good to have you on the
Thank
set.
you.
So,
Yeah.
Cynthia Freeland, I feel like we need
The
to
best.
clap this thing off. Bo Nix. Yes. Enjoy that other show that you're working on as well. Bo Nix. We got Justin Herbert, a divisional. 2 teams that are kind of like fighting it out here, and it's not the Kansas City Chiefs that we're talking about.
Two minutes, 1 timeout, ball at your own 30. How far do you want to go? 30 yards?
I mean, I want
that would get to the 40.
Get it to the 40, 58-yard kick. For Aubrey, that's a chip shot.
Prescott in the gun. Here's the blitz. Retreats, deep drop. Heaves it down the right side. Caught by Pickens. 50, 40, 37. 2nd and 10, 38 seconds. Oh, they're going to throw. Prescott back, pressure. Runs up out of the pocket. 40, 35, 30. Slides at the 27. Comes up and shows the arrow, pointing to the first down. 4 seconds left in overtime. Good operation. 46. The kick. Wins the game. Butter, 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 butter. Extra butter. Cowboys win in overtime. 40 to 37.
Brandon Aubrey is the best kicker on the entire planet. Time for Sunday Statement. It's presented by PNC Bank. I don't know if that counts as a Sunday Statement, but feel like it should.
From the best host in the world.
Cowboys and Bears. I definitely would not say that, but Cowboys and Bears. Who's going to make the biggest statement in this game?
Player-wise, I think it'll be Rome Odunze.
You're doubling down on Rome. You gave him in the
I'm
fantasy segment, too.
Big on Rome this week. I think Rome has surpassed DJ Moore as the wide receiver 1 for Caleb Williams and the Bears. I just don't think all of America knows it yet. Yeah. But if he goes out and has a performance like I think he is going to have today, he is going to become a household name because he's playing America's team. But another big wrinkle in this game, Caleb Williams versus Matt Eberflus.
That's a great call.
Yeah, I don't think it's got enough talk. Like, everyone made the Ben Johnson Bowl jokes last week and stuff, but this is the Eberflus Bowl, and I think Caleb wants to have a little something to prove today to his old coach.
Yeah, from a scheme standpoint, you got to imagine no one's going to know Caleb better than Matt, and just sort of just watch him at practice every single day. What can he do well? What can't he do well? And it might be up to Ben Johnson to create some wrinkles and make some changes there. Going to be interesting to see how that one plays out. Meanwhile, I do think about Quentin Johnston, and more specifically what this dude is doing in terms of those explosive plays. Most receiving touchdowns of at least 25 yards. He's got 5 of them. I mean, this is a hell of a list to be on. Jameson Williams, Jamar Chase, of course, leading the way at 9, and Malik Neighbors. But these are two defenses in the Chargers and Broncos that have had some success. So who makes the bigger statements in this one?
I usually don't pick against Patrick Surtain and the Denver Broncos secondary, but I'm going to go with Justin Herbert and the Chargers wide receivers here, partly because Justin Herbert is playing fantastic football right now. He's taking care of the ball. The O-line is giving him time and everything, but I believe in the talent that is the Chargers wide receivers. Like, you saw QJ on that list. I kept saying last year, like, he's doing his job of getting open. He's just having issues with drops. Quentin Johnston with a high catch rate is like Happy learning how to putt in Happy Gilmore. But I think Ladd McConkey is good enough to win. And then third and Keenan is a real thing here. Like, Keenan might not play a ton of snaps, but when he is out there, the ball is going his way, and he'll be in the slot, so he'll probably avoid Surtain. I like the Chargers to stay hot in this.
There's like this unspoken thing with him and Justin Herbert.
Yeah.
You could see it on the field. Monday night, you saw it in week 1. Like, there's something unique about that relationship all those years probably playing.
And it's a real thing that we can't quantify, but when you have your quarterback's trust, it typically leads to success in the field.
Yeah. I do think about the New Orleans Saints. How are we feeling about the white helmets?
I like it. I'm a fan of look, my favorite team plays in white helmets, so I have to be a fan of them. But I think the white uniforms with the Saints, it looks fresh.
Yeah. Well, look, they'll look good out there. Will they play good? Look good, feel good.
I was going to say look good, feel good, play good, right? But
there's a little bit of that vibe. I don't know if it's going to play out necessarily for them. You see what Spencer Rattler did last week against the San Francisco 49ers. I mean, he kept them in this game to the point where I started thinking, like, this dude may have turned the corner. I thought Tyler Shark was going to win that starting job. Clearly he didn't. Kellen Moore was like, no, maybe not that guy for him. But are you buying this team being better than we thought and because of Spencer?
I'm not there yet. Okay. Look, I hope he proves me wrong. I'm not rooting against him or anything like that, but I was looking, doing some research yesterday for this question, and I was like, yeah, the numbers might look a little bit better because he's had to throw so much because they've been in catch-up mode so much, but he's 6th in attempts, 21st in yards, 32nd in yards per attempt, and 25th in EPA. So right now it's volume that is propping him up and making those yardage totals look a little bit better. Yeah. But on like a per drop back, a per pass attempt, I'm still not sold. And look, they got talent on the offensive side of the ball. They should be able to put points on the board.
Well, I mentioned the San Francisco 49ers. That was the opponent for the Saints last week. They get the Seahawks today. The Cardinals, they're on the road against San Francisco. Here's Kyler Murray. All right, Kyler Murray, just those quick feet. Last year, good start for him, kind of slowed down second half of the season. I've seen this story before. Yeah. Do we feel like this is sustainable?
Look, I love Kyler Murray. He makes us short kings look great week in and week out, but I'm not buying it just yet. They went out, they beat the Saints and the Carolina Panthers, who right now, I think if a lot of us did power rankings, those are probably 31 and 32 in the power rankings. But I need to see it. we've been had before, like you said. The Cardinals have flashed a lot of potential and then not really lived up to it. I want to see them get Marvin Harrison Jr. going more. There's no reason why the number 4 overall pick from a year ago is seeing less than 6 targets per game. But to me, the Cardinals look a lot like the Cardinals from last season, and that wasn't a team that was good enough to make the playoffs. But I'm willing to change. Like, go out today, make a statement, and beat the 49ers on the road, a team you've struggled with in the past, and then maybe because the Rams get the Eagles today. This game could be for first place in the West, and if it ends up being the Cardinals, then maybe we need to reassess.
If they beat San Francisco, are you buying this team?
I would be a lot more bought in than I am right now.
Because I feel like devil's advocate would say there's going to be a contingent that goes, well, no Brock Purdy, there's no George, and like try to frame it that way. But wins are wins, man.
Yeah, I mean, you could start off 3-0. Your chances of making the playoffs are very high.
Yeah, exponentially a whole lot better. And if it's flipped in the reverse, I don't know, like if you're the Kansas City Chiefs,
it's almost over.
Look, there's only so many weeks of the season. Every single one of these games is insanely meaningful, including if you don't have your starting quarterback. And these Cincinnati Bengals, they don't. Minnesota Vikings, they don't. But they still got dudes who can find the end zone. Chase, Jefferson, a closer look at what to expect is next. With NFL Plus, you can keep the NFL in reach. You can stream live, local, and primetime games on mobile during the regular and postseason. NFL Network, including 7 exclusive live games, live game audio, and more. With NFL Plus Premium, you get more football with NFL Red Zone game replays and NFL Pro. You can sign up today at plus.nfl.com/network. Terms and conditions apply. All right, Who Scores? Presented by DraftKings Sportsbook. Let's take a closer look at some dudes who might find the end zone today. Your anytime touchdown scorers. I feel like the bold claim is Justin Jefferson, considering the quarterback situation for both the Minnesota Vikings and the Cincinnati Bengals. But if there's a guy that you got to point to in that matchup, Justin Jefferson, as good of a pick as anyone. But let's take you through some of the matchups. More fantasy points. Who scores more? C.J. Stroud or Trevor Lawrence?
Ooh, the battle of quarterbacks that we thought were going to be the future of their teams that have been really struggling. I'm going to go with C.J. Stroud here, though, for a couple of different reasons. One, I do believe that C.J. Stroud and the Texans need to put an emphasis on trying to get the ball downfield to Nico Collins today. We've seen it work when they've done it. Yeah. He just hasn't had a ton of targets go his way. But also, Stroud has a history of success in this matchup, multiple passing touchdowns in 3 of his 4 career games against them, over 300 yards in 2. You cannot say the same on the opposite side. Trevor Lawrence has more career interceptions than touchdowns against the Houston Texans. And if you're still not sold, the Jags haven't been creating a ton of pressure, and that is what has made life really hard on C.J. Stroud this year.
Not to mention, I mean, Houston's defense is pretty
they're
legit.
tough.
I think just based off of that on face value, I'm buying exactly what you're selling. Meanwhile, Saquon Barkley, Kyren Williams, this is as good of a matchup, I think, as we have on the slate. I'm really looking forward to this game and dialing in. And yet, I think most people tell you it's going to be Saquon. I don't know if that's the easiest answer, though, given some of the issues on the defensive side from Philly, and the Rams' defense is pretty legit.
Yeah, it is. And I am a believer in Kyren Williams, but I'm still going Saquon.
I was trying
Barkley
to bait you
here.
a little bit.
Look, when McVay said before earlier in the block that Saquon had their number a little bit last year, that's putting it as kindly as you possibly can. He faced them twice last season, once in the playoffs, once in the regular season. He went for over 230 yards in each of those games, and he scored double-digit touchdowns. 2 touchdowns in each of those games. Double-digit would be wild. He topped 300 yards in one of those games as well. Like, those are complete video game numbers. We've yet to see the real big blow-up game from Saquon this year. It could come today. But on the flip side, like in fantasy, people are souring on Kyren Williams. They have been for years, waiting for the next big thing to arrive. I think he's the dude there, and he's a good buy low opportunity right now.
Just to be clear here, you think this is a high-scoring game?
I don't think it's super high scoring, but I think it's like I could see both teams being in the 20s.
Okay, because I know you obviously like Saquon, you picked him here, and I know you felt good about this wide receiving core kind of bouncing back, because there's been some problems, obviously, from a Philadelphia offensive perspective. Just throwing that out there. Speaking of wide receivers, you got 2 of the best in the NFL going head-to-head in Jamar Chase and Justin Jefferson, and yet neither one of these guys is shy to kind of give their opinion. Jamar gets into the end zone. That's some interesting things to say about how he would celebrate.
Are you allowed to gritty in Minnesota in Justin's house? Is that allowed?
I mean, if he doesn't want me to, I want to do it. I mean, if he doesn't want me to do it, then I'm going to do it now purposely. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. I want to piss him off.
Look, I feel like that's an accurate assessment.
Oh yeah.
Does he score more points? Is he going to be able to do the gritty?
This is like a WWE match from back in the day, right? 2 college former teammates who are really good friends being pit up against each other with a twist. Instead of a special guest referee, in this one we get 2 backup quarterbacks. But I am going to go with Jamar Chase there. And I went back and forth on this because I do like the matchup better for Justin Jefferson. I think the Vikings defense is a little bit tougher than the Bengals, but we saw last week Jake Browning rely heavily on Jamar Chase, and it led to him having a huge big day. Like, he had over 160 yards. He was the wide receiver 2 on the week in fantasy. I still expect Carson Wentz to rely heavily on Justin Jefferson, because anyone with a brain would be like, yeah, I got to throw it to 18 a bit.
Totally.
But is it going to be as much as Browning did for Chase, where he threw his way? I mean, Chase finished last week with 16 targets. So just because we've already seen these two have the chemistry and the rapport together, I'm going to go in that direction. Plus, I think the Vikings, if they have a lead, they're going to run the ball a whole bunch.
The only thing I'll throw your way on Justin Jefferson, it has felt over the years like it doesn't even matter who his quarterback is. And he just figures out ways to just make these explosive, ridiculous catches. So I'm with you. I would actually lean the way that you're leaning with Chase.
There's no wrong answer.
Yeah, I mean, he takes Chase.
They're the 2 best in the world.
And see how it all plays out. But once again, Jamar Chase and Justin Jefferson, the ability to give us some fireworks today. DraftKings Sportsbook, the best place to bet touchdowns this season. And this week, new customers can bet $5 and get $300 in bonus bets instantly and get over $200 off NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube TV. Download the app and use the promo code GAME when you sign up. DraftKings Sportsbook, the crown is yours. Jordan Love. You think they're the best team in the NFL?
No, but I think their defense is the best in the NFL.
I think at the end of the year, man, we might be talking about these guys as Super Bowl champs. Let's see if they can get a win today. The NFL International Games, they return to NFL Network on September 28th. 6 games, 4 cities. We got Dublin, London, Berlin, and Madrid, only on NFL Network and also streaming with NFL Plus. Subscription required for NFL Plus. You can visit NFL.com for terms and conditions. We're about 30 minutes or so away from kickoff of the early set of games. Here's some notable injuries to kind of keep your eye out for. We talked about this earlier with Stacey Dales, who's ready for that matchup with the Green Bay Packers. Tucker Kraft active for this game. There were some concerns about whether or not he'd be able to play. Giants have had some issues on that offensive line. Still were able to put up a ton of points. Andrew Thomas hasn't played so far. Questionable. Does the left tackle make his return today? And Emeka Egbuka, also good to see him active. Michael Florio had him as a must-start in fantasy. For a little bit more in terms of the quarterbacks, Tom Pelissero, our NFL Network insider, joins us right now. Tom, always good to see you, man, on a Sunday. The quarterback injury carousel, I feel like it is spinning at a really high rate earlier this season. Tell me what I need to know about some of these signal callers.
Well, Yammer, let's start out in Washington with their quarterback, Jaden Daniels, who is out today against the Bucs because of that knee sprain that he suffered last week. Now, Daniels was able to participate on a very limited basis in practice on Friday, did some individual work, but we heard Coach Dan Quinn saying they were going to be cautious with Daniels. They were not going to put him on the field unless he's 100%. And at this point, Daniels has not been able to do everything. We'll see how much, if at all, his participation ramps up next week. For at least today, it is Marcus Mariota getting the start against Tampa Bay. For Brock Purdy, the 49ers quarterback, this is going to be an interesting situation to watch as well as this thing moves forward. Now, Purdy was able to participate on a limited basis throughout the course of this week, but Coach Kyle Shanahan said even on Friday it was highly unlikely Purdy was going to be able to be the starter today. Instead, they were evaluating whether potentially to have him up as the number 2 or the number 3 quarterback. In the end, it will be another start for Mac Jones, who beat the Saints a week ago in a big game today against the Arizona Cardinals. Adrian Martinez elevated from the practice squad. He will be the 2. Purdy certainly getting closer, but was always most likely that he would miss at least 2 games. In Minnesota, J.J. McCarthy out today because of the high ankle sprain that he suffered last week, and this quite possibly is going to be a multi-week absence for McCarthy as well. Here's the good news. I am told McCarthy is already out of a walking boot. The swelling has gone down in that ankle. Now it's a matter of attacking the rehab, getting past the pain portion of it. The expectation, and this could change, but the expectation as of now is that McCarthy will make the trip with the team to Dublin. They play 2 consecutive games in Europe against the Steelers and then the following week against the Browns in London. McCarthy, by coming along with the team, then would be able to even get some practice type reps with the scout team just to be able to ramp up. The most likely target date is after the Week 6 bye for McCarthy's return, but also possible he could push that timeline. Carson Wentz gets the start today against Jake Browning and the Bengals. Meanwhile, for the Jets, it will be not Justin Fields, but Tyrod Taylor getting the start for them today against the Buccaneers. Justin Fields remains in the concussion protocol at this point after the injury that he suffered last week. Not uncommon for quarterbacks to miss 1 game after suffering a concussion here. There are several steps you have to go through, including getting cleared by an independent neurologist. So keep an eye on Fields' participation through the course of next week, but would seem pretty likely that Fields could be back on the field week 4, Yam.
Damn, Tom, you got to be tired. That is a whole lot of information with these quarterbacks. Like, who is healthy at this point? I feel like you just rolled through half of the NFL with some of these teams, man. And I know if there's any other injury updates and some good news that was at least brewing for some of those guys, you will have us covered on this show and insiders over on NFL Network. Tom, enjoy the games today, okay? All right, what is your beef? Presented by Old Trapper Beef Jerky. All right, Tom took us through these quarterbacks. There's always frustration. That would be my beef as a fantasy owner. I get a guy that's a stud. I go and draft him. I can't put him in my lineup. I get it. Football is a physical sport here. Who do I turn to with some of these injuries?
Look, I think the first is a quarterback who has been playing fantastic to start the year. Never in my wildest dreams did I think I would be sitting here in week 3 saying, play Daniel Jones. But here we are. Daniel Jones, second in the NFL in passing yards, tied for the league lead with goal line carries coming in. And what I really like in this matchup, the Titans have generated pressure at the 6th lowest rate in the NFL right now. Daniel Jones has the 3rd highest EPA and has completed over 75% of his passes from a clean pocket. So I like Daniel Jones if you need, but he was picked up in a lot of leagues. If he's out there, though, I like him.
Yeah, because Danny Dimes has been just dealing right now. I know Marcus Mariota was another name that you would like there. One that was a little surprising to me. I'll let you weigh in on this guy.
I am unfortunately playing Marcus Mariota in far too many leagues today because I have a lot of Jaden Daniels, I have a lot of Justin Fields. But what does he do like those guys? He runs. And if you look through his game log, he routinely runs for like 30, 40 yards. When he was the Falcons starter a couple years ago, he averaged 34 yards per game. And you might be like, that's not a whole lot. In fantasy, that's a free 75 passing yards because that's what it equates to.
Sure.
He could be used near the goal line in what I think will be a close competitive game. And lastly, he's got good weapons, right? He's got Debo, he's got Ertz, he's got Terry McLaurin. So I'm rolling the dice on the rushing upside of Mariota in a lot of leagues.
The one that surprised me was Bryce Young. I was eager to start talking about this too because Joe Flacco, Russell Wilson, and Bryce Young, no quarterbacks are pressured more than those 3 guys. Now, Russ balled out and we put up monster numbers. So it's not to say that you can't. But I don't know how confident I am right now in Carolina. I guess the point, the premise is, hey, this is not a long-term solution. This is a short-term act.
Yeah, exactly. That. And look, on top of all the pressure that they give up, like they just put 2 of their offensive linemen on IR. So it could even get worse in Carolina. But Bryce Young had his best career game the last time he played the Falcons in Week 18. He threw for 3 touchdowns. He ran for another 2, finished with 36 fantasy points in that one. He had a career high in passing yards last week. And look, it might not be pretty for the first 2 or 3 quarters. You don't want to watch Panthers games if you have
What is that
but
about
then in the
man?
4th quarter, they go in pure catch-up mode. They let Bryce Young just start airing it out, finding Chuba Hubbard in the flat. And at the end of the day, you're like, oh, wow, he put up respectable fantasy numbers, even though he had like 3 after the first 3 quarters.
Yeah, it is wild, man. I mean, it feels like they're never out of it, even though you look at halftime, you're like, all right, dude, like what's the other game that I can go and track and follow, and yet they still make a run. You know, there's one quarterback that it's like a lock at this point. Dude has just been so red hot as of late. Jordan Love. I mean, look at what the numbers have been. 13 passing touchdowns, no interceptions in his last 9 regular season games going back to last year. The Packers quarterback sat down with our Hall of Famer, Kurt Warner.
I'm sure you've heard the note that's out there that Starr and Favre and Rodgers all won championships at the age of 27. You turned 27 this year. Do you believe in history repeating itself?
I do. I do believe in history repeating itself. I think, first and foremost, it's a crazy stat that all those guys won it when they turned 27. You can't just, think it's going to happen based on the history and everything adding up, the stars aligning, but we got to go make it happen.
Micah Parsons arrives on the scene.
Well, one big difference with this team is obviously Micah Parsons. I know you were on his podcast lobbying a little bit for him to come to Green Bay.
Is there anybody particular around the league that you feel like should come into the organization, can make an impact for y'all?
I mean, there's a dude sitting right next to me, man. You know what I mean? That'd be pretty cool.
You taking a little bit of credit for him getting traded there?
Man, I wish I could, It's one of those things, when we did that podcast, back in the Super Bowl, you have no idea what's going to happen. Obviously, Micah's, he's with the Cowboys, and, I'm just throwing it out there, kind of poking some fun because, obviously it'd be really cool to get a player like that. But in the back of my head, I'm like, man, this isn't ever going to happen. They're never going to get rid of Micah Parsons. I'm really glad he's here, but I never saw that coming.
Hit and sack, Micah Parsons.
It just gives us even more confidence. It's just showing the team the confidence that the organization has in us in the front office that, we got a team that can do it all right now. The goal is to go win a Super Bowl.
And there is your dagger.
All right, finish this sentence for me. Jordan Love joined Starr, Favre, and Rodgers as a champion at 27 years old if
we do what we need to do. If we go out there and ball out, execute at a high level, and just go out there and have fun.
Get up in the end zone. Let's go. We get up in the end zone.
We know what type of team we got. It comes down to going out there and doing it every week and proving it to everybody on the outside that we're confident in what we got.
Should be confident because he's got Micah Parsons also on his team as well. Great job by Kurt during that interview. It's one of the matchups that we will key in on, not to mention some comments from one starting quarterback. We're going to relive them. Trust me, you do not want to miss this. Well, we got the Rams in Philadelphia. I mean, the good luck charm for any dad is your daughters. All 4 of them from Matthew Stafford, and maybe that's going to be the case today. Of course, a rematch of the divisional round last year where the Rams lost in Philadelphia. Stafford, though, has been an absolute monster. His career numbers against Philadelphia, nothing short of impressive. 4 passing touchdowns, no interceptions in those 2 losses last year. 16 touchdowns to 1 interception ratio in those career games in 8 career starts against the Eagles. Like, you don't look at him, but they lost last year, and that's obviously the biggest piece of all of this. All right, one thing to watch for. We'll talk about that matchup in just a minute here. But Colts and Titans, I feel like Cam Ward is exceeding expectations despite the record. Like, he's looked the part. But maybe the biggest story, surprise story in the NFL, is what we've seen from the Colts starting quarterback in Daniel Jones.
Yeah, and I'm looking to see if he could keep it up. Not only just playing extremely well as a passer, going through his progressions, the high completion percentage, and all of that, but he's been getting the job done with his legs, especially near the goal line. Are they going to continue to use him in that regard? Is he going to be able to get Tyler Warren the ball? And then on the Titans side, man, can y'all give some help to Cam Ward, please? Like, top 3 in QB pressures and sacks, in drops. Like, they're not doing him a lot of favors through 2 weeks.
Yeah, and look, the team is not deep to begin with. This is a rebuild, but they do have a nice foundational piece in the quarterback there. I can't believe, the Colts might win this division the way that it's kind of pointing. The Falcons could win their division, maybe. They match up against the Panthers. The running game, I think there's 2 major stories. The running game, which has always been pretty good with Bijan Robinson in the backfield for Atlanta, looks good, but their defense has also been stellar.
Yeah, and their defense could cause a lot of havoc against Bryce Young and that O-line that is extremely banged up right now. But I think Bijan is the main thing to watch today. He went for 170 yards and 2 touchdowns the last time they faced off. Topped 100 yards both games last year. And the Panthers, them struggling against the run, it's just a yearly tradition now at this point. It's been going back for seasons. So it's to infinity and beyond today. I think he's going to go off for as many yards as he wants.
You know, here in NFL media, we don't forget stuff. I mean, occasionally we do. Just nothing that's football related. You got to go back in this next matchup. You got Cincinnati, you got a backup quarterback in Jake Browning. J.J. McCarthy also not playing from Minnesota perspective. It's Carson Wentz. But Jake Browning used to rock a Minnesota uniform. He's been waived 3 times by that team. You go back to 2023, he's playing in an overtime game. It's Cincinnati. It's matched up against Minnesota. He throws for 324, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception. And when it was over, he gave us this.
Should have never caught me!
Amazing.
That is awesome. That is awesome. And by the way, I got to know Jake Browning fairly well when he was playing at Washington. I never saw anything like that. I mean, the dude is this. Total flat line, never gets too excited, not an emotional dude. If you don't think certain games mean a little extra, I almost feel like after rewatching that, I'm like, yo, Cincinnati's winning this game. Jake Browning's not going to go and lose. But what do you make of the backups here?
Yeah, that is vengeance that George Costanza can only dream of, against a former employee. But the backup quarterbacks are the talking point in this game. And Carson Wentz is a quarterback that we've seen a lot throughout the years and different teams bouncing around. And I trust KOC and the Vikings' weapons. And like Yam was saying earlier, like with Justin Jefferson, and sometimes with the Vikings offense as a whole, it doesn't matter who the quarterback has been. They've been productive. But I was already thinking a little Jake Browning. Shout out to Jason for giving me this stat. Against the Blitz last week, Browning was 7 of 8 for 125 yards and 2 touchdowns. No team blitzed more since the start of last season than the Minnesota Vikings. So I think Browning comes out, and that little extra vengeance, he has himself a day.
Oh, God, he really, really wants this one. All right, next matchup here, Texans and Jags. I know you touched on the quarterbacks a little bit earlier here in the show. I feel like that needs to be revisited.
Yeah, the Jaguars have far too much talent for them to be struggling in the passing attack like we have seen. We're 2 weeks in, and we already have Liam Cohen having to have private conversations with Trevor Lawrence. And Trevor Lawrence has left a lot of production on the field this year, not putting the ball where it needs to be. And look, I could get that if he had, maybe not the best receiving core, but when you have Brian Thomas Jr. and Travis Hunter, that is far too much talent to be missing throws and leaving all this production on the ground, on the air. I mean, I don't think, though, it happens today because we were talking, the Texans' defense is really tough, and they've given Lawrence fits over the years.
Were we all wrong about Trevor?
Yeah, I think so. He could still prove us wrong if we come to that side, but he does not look like the generational guy he was hyped up.
Because when he gets drafted, we go, hey, can't miss, lock, and there's a part of me that's almost willing to give the pass because of the amount of turnover in the coaching staffs and different. And I know that's a factor, but my God, sometimes you see him out there and you're like, oh, what's he seeing? And then there's other moments where he flashes. You go, oh, okay, that's Trevor Lawrence. That's the dude that we expect to absolutely ball out. Jets and Bucks. I think the Bucks don't get nearly enough attention nationally. Baker Mayfield doesn't get nearly enough credit. Steve Weich, who's one of our colleagues who usually does the show, heard from him. He's at the Commanders game against the Raiders. Says that Baker is the kingmaker. You go and you be his OC, you're going to end up getting a head coaching job. This feels like a must-win situation for the Jets, and I don't know if going down to Tampa Bay is a recipe for success for them.
No, it typically isn't. I mean, especially early in the year, no team starts off hotter every year than the Tampa Bay Bucks. And Baker is a kingmaker. He's for coaches and for pass catchers. He's gotten Chris Godwin paid. He's already making Emeka Egbuka look great. But I think Sauce Gardner versus Mike Evans is the matchup to watch here because in week 1, the Jets allowed Sauce Gardner to shadow DK Metcalf on 91% of his snaps. If we're seeing that today, how does that battle go? Does Baker spread the ball out? Or is it like last week where it's like, all right, you're going to put your best corner on him? I'm still going to feed him the ball double-digit times.
Yeah. Bucky Irvin, by the way, I think is now becoming a little bit more of a household name. Yeah. We saw some wrinkles the other night with him in that offense. You go, oh, this dude really can play.
He's amazing. He should have all the attention already. With what he did last year. But if you don't know yet, you'll know by the year's end.
Yeah, Green Bay Packers, they match up against the #1 total defense in the NFL, Myles Garrett and company. They bring the heat, but the Packers, well, they've been on a roll.
What a great team win, man. How about our defense? 8 pressures, 4 sacks. We got 2 game balls. This first guy, he had 5 PBUs today. had 6 for 124 and a tug.
Oh, where you at, Tug?
Where you at, Tug?
Back out 3. 1, 2, 3.
I think resume-wise, they got the best resume in the NFL. Win against the Commanders last week. That was them inside that locker room. And then week 1, making Detroit look the way that they did. And we saw the bounce back from the Lions. This team can flex. If they put a hurting on the Browns on the defensive side, because that defense is legit, then I go, hey, they're in the driver's seat in my mind.
Yeah, I've already said, like, they're a black hole that you don't want to play people in fantasy against, that Packers defense, except for maybe one position, and that is tight end. So far this year, the Packers have allowed the 5th most yards to tight ends. And that's why what I'm going to be watching so closely today is Harold Fannin Jr.'s usage, because the term joker gets thrown around a lot, but Harold Fannin Jr. isn't a real joker. He takes snaps from the backfield, from the slot, out wide as a tight end, and they don't use a 3rd wide receiver consistently. I think Harold Fannin Jr. is their 2nd tight end and 3rd wide receiver, kind of molded in one. And again, that term joker gets used all the time. He is the one true joker, and this joker, he's just trying to give you a better class of tight end for fantasy purposes.
One of our initial talking points around this game from a Browns perspective was centered around that guy, Joe Flacco, who you're seeing right now on your screen, as the most pressured quarterback in the NFL, along with Bryce Young and Russell Wilson. Is there a difference, like a spark that could happen? Because we saw Dylan Gabriel, even in sort of late garbage time last week, he played well in the preseason. At what point, if you're Stefanski, you just say, hey, you know what, let's just mix things up?
Yeah, I agree with what Cynthia was saying earlier. You need to know if you're the Browns, and when you're dealing with a ton of pressure, you need a quarterback who can move, and no disrespect to Joe Flacco, he is not that.
One thing to watch for in the Raiders and the Commanders centers around Marcus Mariota. What do I need to know about how he could look against this Raiders defense?
I expect to see him use his legs a whole bunch. I'm expecting a lot of short and quick passes. I think Deebo Samuel could be a weapon in this game because you could just generate touches for him and then he could win after the catch. But his legs are going to have to be a factor in this one. And if we're talking about legs, the Raiders need to get Ashton Genty going. He is averaging 0.1 yards before contact, so the O-line clearly needs to be better. He's only averaging 2.6 yards after contact. That's below league average. So Genty needs to be better there, but for those panicking, he is the 3rd highest missed tackle force rate amongst all running backs. That is what we loved about him as a prospect coming out. So I do think better days are ahead, but for the Raiders' sake, you need it sooner than later.
It didn't feel like on Monday night watching that game, there was a concerted effort to try to get him the football, because you mentioned those missed tackles. I mean, even on one play, he could get 3 missed tackles because he's that quick, but sometimes you go, oh, like, I don't.
Sometimes it's 3 missed tackles and he's just getting back to the line of scrimmage.
Yeah. There's that too. He is shifty when he is out there. And we also like explosive plays on the field.
27-23, 7:18 to go. And the kickoff right to left. The liner handled by Gibson on the run to the 20, to the 25 with the cut inside the 30. He bounces away near side to the 45-50. Gibson to the 35 of the Miami 30. 15, 10, 5. He goes the distance. Touchdown, Patriots. No flag. A somersault to punctuate a touchdown return for New England, and the Patriots have the lead.
They go on to win that game. They score 33 points, something we haven't seen in a few years from that Patriots team in its entirety. We get the special teams play. I mean, sometimes you need a spark like that to get things going.
Yeah, you do. And look, it's funny because that was Antonio Gibson. We know Ramondre Stevenson had the huge game last week. But I'm calling my shot, and I'm saying that this is the Travion Henderson week. I love Travion as a prospect. Loved him all summer. He is the most explosive player, I would say, on that offense, but definitely in that backfield. And I talked about it a little bit last hour. The Steelers have really struggled against explosive running backs. They have no problem shutting down Zach Charbonnet and Braylon Allen, but Kenneth Walker and Breece Hall lit them up. So I think Travion Henderson hits a home run or 2 this week, and once that happens, there's no going back. So it's a bold call, but I'm going with the rookie today.
Okay, we'll take that. And it is one of the most significant matchups of week number 3. That is the Rams on the road in Philadelphia to take on Saquon Barkley and the Eagles.
SoFi Stadium for Week 12, the primetime Sunday Night Football.
You're going to have to be your best selves to beat the Eagles.
Barkley got a first down and more. Touchdown!
255 yards rushing.
An all-time Eagles record. Most devastating day in modern Rams history.
The rest of the Rams fans can go home.
The Philadelphia Eagles might be the best team. Are the Rams ready to take that step forward?
Here he goes. Touchdown! He's hit another home run against the Rams.
All gas, no brakes, game over.
That'll lock it up. Put the Rams out of their misery.
Silence of the Rams. Was that AI, by the way, at the end? That must have been.
I mean, or a great graphics team. Who knows?
Both things can be true. Having a great graphics team and also that being AI. That was something there. I think the biggest concern around this Eagles team, and I get it, they're still undefeated and they're winning these games, is it looks different than I had anticipated on the offensive side.
Yeah, it looks to me like they're playing to kind of troll the league right now. Like every play is set up to have a 3rd and short or 4th and short, and then just push your way down. But when you have AJ Brown and Yam, my hot take this week is like AJ Brown hates this. I'm speculating here. He hates this offense, I think, and I think he is waiting. Like if they lose a game, he's crashing out. But right now, you're winning. You got to go with it. I think they need to have an emphasis on getting the ball downfield because it just makes your team harder to defend. It makes it less predictable. But I'm also on the other side. If the Eagles put up points like we expect, how are the Rams going to match? I know Puka's going to do his thing. He's so strong. He is such a good catch and run guy. But are they going to be able to get Devontae going again like they did last week? This is the Kyron week against a really tough Eagles front seven. So I'm watching the Rams very closely on offense and how McVay gets in his bag this week.
Look, the Rams right now, I mentioned the Packers and having a really impressive resume. At this point, the Rams resume also looks pretty good as well. Can you imagine they win this game? I think the conversations all week will really center around legitimately, are the Rams a real threat to go and win the Super Bowl this year?
Yeah, I mean, they went all in with some of the moves they made. Like, they're not trying to get younger. They're going out and they're getting these vets because they believe they have the roster now. I think the Packers and the Eagles, I think, are the top 3 in the NFC.
Well, by the way, they should feel that way. I mean, they're literally 2 plays away on the road in this matchup in Philadelphia in the divisional round, winning that game, and maybe we would have been talking about them as Super Bowl champs. So at this point, you're thinking to yourself, like, yeah, why not us? And they are all in. We'll find out if they can flex, because at the end of the day, regular season wins are nice. It's the ones in the postseason that matter the most. Unless the Cleveland Browns have a tough task. We know Jaden Daniels not playing for that Commanders team. We're going to be tracking all the games for you here on Game Center, which starts in 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1.